Hi there. Welcome to Your Future, Your Finances. I'm your host, Brian Kuhn. This is a show about personal finance and current events in the Maryland area. On today's show, we have Nina Heck. Nina has worked at the Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland in Delaware since 1987. She initially joined nonprofit as a financial counselor and now serves as its Director of Counseling and Client Services. Over the course of her career, she counseled thousands of clients, helping them learn to budget and manage their debt. As a financial advocate and expert, she serves as a spokesperson for CCCS. Thank you for coming on the show, Nina.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
Sure. So, as we get started, let's talk a little bit about CCCS of Maryland and Delaware. What exactly does your agency do?
Well, CCCS is a nonprofit organization, so we offer free budget and credit counseling to consumers who find that they have a need possibly with their finances.
Okay.
Our mission is really to promote financial stability and also to have economic stability in the family and communities.
Yeah, certainly a topic that affects a lot of people
Yes.
these days. So you have a reputation for helping people struggling financially get back on track. What does a typical client or customer of yours look like from a demographic perspective?
So we counsel people from all walks of life, anywhere from somebody who might be homeless that needs help getting their credit in order to move into maybe their first rental. Obviously the middle class who's struggling with their finances due to unemployment or medical, anything that might have caused an impact to their finances. And then we also counsel people that have very good incomes. As you know, things can happen. Financial hardship can hit any income level. So that's often a misconception. People often think that they have to be a certain, they have to look a certain way in order to contact us, but that's really not true.
Yeah, I know when I'm working with clients, we talk about the concept of inflation and expenses going up, but it's not just that affecting people's budgets. It's more and more things that get invented and accepted by our culture, I think, that become a necessary expense. You didn't have cell phone bills as part of your budget 50 years ago. And health care, obviously, that's a major expense. So it's definitely getting harder.
It is. It is.
So when people end up in serious debt, what's the best way for them to dig out? What are the steps they go through?
We often work with consumers, and our first and foremost would be to set up a budget that's realistic. Oftentimes people will throw a budget together and they just put some figures in. Yeah. Of course, we all have fixed expenses, so we know what they're going to run. But what we don't often have a handle on are the other expenses in our budget: groceries, gas, hair care, different things that people have in their budgets that they just take for granted. So one of the suggestions that I always state is to track those expenses and maybe do it for 30, 60 days so that when you make the budget, you have realistic figures in there that your family actually is working with. So having that information and then putting with that the income that the family has on average to work with, their net income, allows you to determine how much income is left over to then work on anything like maybe credit cards, personal loans, medical bills, collection accounts, any of those other accounts that they might have. What we would then do is have them look at, possibly, are they in a position to be able to pay those bills themselves? And if they are, then obviously contacting the creditors to see if they're willing to work with them. And therein lies where oftentimes people have problems, because once they make the calls, they get discouraged because the creditors or the collector may want more than they're able to send. So I often say, don't bury your head. This is the time you need to reach out to someone and get some help.
Yeah, and that's really a key distinguishing factor. Is there's people who just need some help with budgeting, and then there's people who maybe are struggling financially. They really have some issues. So if they have, what types of assistance do you offer to those who are really having a hard time? Well,
we offer free, confidential budget and credit counseling. So that's an option for anyone that contacts us, and it allows them to speak with someone who can be objective and take a look at their circumstances and offer some options to get them back on the road to financial stability. We also have a low-cost debt repayment program that's available as well, and that might be an option if they're having trouble paying what the creditors want. We also have housing counseling, so for people in the Maryland-Delaware area that find themselves maybe facing foreclosure or in a loss mitigation scenario, we have counselors, a housing staff that can work with them for that. as well as reverse mortgages for the seniors, and we also do pre-purchase counseling from our housing department.
That's a lot of different services. So you say you have counselors, is that all over Maryland?
We're nationwide, and I don't know that I stated that in the opening. So we've been in Maryland and Delaware for 49 years, but we also counsel nationwide as well. Our housing, however, is limited to the Maryland-Delaware area.
Okay. Okay. And how about like investing? If somebody wants to try to invest money?
We're not investors. We don't take that hat. What we do offer is financial coaching, which is another service that we have. And that really helps a person who maybe is not having trouble making their payments or meeting their bills, but what may be the problem is they have goals they would like to achieve. So having a coach that could work with them one-on-one every single month for the course of a year to achieve those goals, and it could be something as simple as just setting up an emergency savings. So we're not quite at an investor's level. We're still working with a lot of consumers that don't have that emergency savings. Maybe they've pulled money out of their 401k to pay bills in a crisis time. So we're trying to work on getting that money back in, work with them to work on getting that back into their budget again.
Yeah, it definitely affects a lot of people. We have a lot more to cover. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Nina Heck from the CCCS of Maryland. You're watching Your Future, Your Finances. I'm Brian Kuhn.